It's Phreology Friday, everybody. I was going to introduce the topic. I didn't know I was doing the whole thing.
No,
I
I was
am
like,
Aaron Tomlinson, and he is.
I'm Derrick Day. Oh man, I threw you for a loop there, man. My bad.
No, it's all good. That's what we do here. What you drinking tonight?
Hennessy,
Ah,
and being a little ghetto, I'm drinking it over ice. So
that's all right.
yeah,
So
not.
I've got. Check this out.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, Hatch green chili wine. In this part of the country, we do everything with green chili. I have never tried this, and this is from New Mexico. So yeah.
Damn.
So I poured a glass. Interesting. It's sweet.
Really?
I didn't expect that.
Is it
So
spicy?
not too bad.
Okay.
It hmm. It tastes like a Chardonnay, only a little sweeter.
Okay.
Just maybe a hint of spicy.
Wow.
I don't know. I haven't decided yet if I like it or not.
At least it wasn't horrible, man. I always think about like that old Cheech and Chong skit. What is that? It looked like dog shit. Smell. Well, it smells like dog shit. Ugh. Touch. Yeah, it feel like dog shit. Taste.
That's pretty funny.
Anyway, I'm old, man.
Yeah,
you
I
know, we,
was
we used to listen.
little.
We used to listen to all of these old comedians' albums, right?
Yeah.
And what we had to do is we had to turn the volume up just so we could hear it, and all of us would crowd around one speaker and listen, right? It was like, and so Cheech and Chong was one of them. Cheech and Chong, Richard Pryor, George
Mhm.
Carlin.
Mhm.
We'd listen to all the greats. But man, oh man, raunchy stuff. Red Fox. Yeah.
I think the only comedian album I had growing up was, record was Bill Cosby.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bill didn't cuss though.
No, he was easy.
Yeah.
You could crank it up. I
So,
remember Eddie Murphy Raw, seeing that
oh
in the
man.
theater.
Now,
Yeah.
the funniest one to me. We promise we'll get to the subject here momentarily. But Eddie Murphy's first comedy special, Delirious, where he
Oh
wore
yeah.
the red leather suit. To me, that was peak Eddie. That was the best, especially when he talks about he was, and this was like back when when you would talk about people talked about gay people in a disparaging way, but Eddie made it funny, and he talked about what if the characters on the honeymooners, Jackie Gleason and Ed Norton, or what was his name, Art Carney, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That if they were having sex, and it was hilarious. But anyway, I just going down a rabbit hole early here. I need to change, Aaron. I need to change.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about why is it hard for some people or for everybody in some area to change your life. And so the simple topic, but I've been thinking about it, all the things that we know is good for us that we don't do, all the stuff that we know is bad for us
Yep.
that we do. Um, this kind of fits along the lines revisiting New Year's resolutions and things like that, right?
Yep.
Like eat better, exercise more, save more money, invest more, be under stress less. We all know stress is bad for us, and stress is literally killing us, but
Mhm.
you know, we still continue to, well, in my case, I still continue to not manage my stress very well.
You know, I'm right there with you, bro. I'm not very good at managing stress. Now,
Yeah,
I have good outlets that and that's cool, but like a lot of times I don't really avail myself of it.
right.
You know.
Same here.
But
Or, I teach state management, emotional regulation, things like that. And yet, so even if I know what to do, I won't practice what I know.
yeah,
And so we're creatures of habit, right? So everything is a habit. Even if you're doing nothing, the doing nothing is a habit, right? Laziness is a habit.
yep,
Um, Too much scrolling, too much social media can be a habit. We get into these routines. We wake up in the morning, we go through the same routine. Um, if we drive to work, we drive the same way to
hmm
work, come home, same routine at night, same routine, go to bed, and start the whole thing up the next morning.
yep,
And even if we are compelled to change something, so let's say get up early, a little bit earlier, and just stretch, something as simple as that, right?
yep,
You get older, it's important to do that, right? So get up. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to drink more water than I normally drink.
yep, yep,
Simple stuff. And we can carry it on for a few days, a week, maybe even a few weeks. And then it seems like we fall back into our sort of old default pattern.
yeah.
Even after there's been enough time that they say, you can establish a new habit. Because I know I've done things for 2-3 months, and then something will mess up that routine. Like, for example, there were some things that I was doing that were healthier for me, like drinking more water, like stretching, some of this stuff. And I was taking better care of my skin because I'm getting older, right?
Yep.
And so I had this face routine with my wife's Mary Kay products. and and I got sick with COVID, and I just didn't feel like doing it, and I got out of the habit, and I haven't been able to pick up that routine again. And I had that routine going for months.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yep.
And so it's like we have these defaults that we're set to almost habitually, and to try to break out of those default programs and move into something else, unless you do something drastically different, like move to a different place, or completely change your life, it's a little bit easier to develop new routines and new patterns.
Yep.
But so I've just been contemplating, why is it hard to change those things? So what do you think, Derek?
And that's a good one. And this is something that I've learned that it takes 18 days to create a new habit. And in other words, if you do something consistently, at basically at the same time and in a similar routine for 18 days, you will form a habit, right? But to break that habit, it only takes 3 days.
Hmm.
So basically, the rule of thumb is if you start exercising, you do it for 18 days. You don't want to miss more than 1 or 2 days, because once you miss the third day, basically you're at back at square one, and you got
Wow.
to start all over again.
Wow.
And so I think about that, and then I think about okay, things that I know I need to change. Like you were talking about eating habits, right? Um, Funny thing and true story. I have not had any, salty snacks like chips or anything in over a week.
Hmm.
Now, that's pretty good. But in order for that to become part of my life, my lifestyle, I have 11 more days to go. Now, can I do it? I don't know, but I know that it's something that I need to do. But fuck, man, I like chips.
Yeah.
I like potato chips. I like corn chips. I like sun chips. I like chips, and I like the flavor. I like the salt. I like the crunch, and all of that. And I like regular potato chips. I like kettle cooked potato chips. I even like fucking Pringles, man. You know, I, I, I like chips.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I need to change because I know that like bad eating habits, lead to bad fitness habits.
Hmm.
Because weight management is not won or lost at the gym.
Right.
It's won or lost at the table,
Yep.
right? So why is it so hard? And let me say this. I have a thought on this, right? Because we're wired for habit.
Hmm.
We're wired for habit. Have you ever gotten in your car, like, and you arrive at your destination, but you really don't know how you got there?
Yep.
I mean, that's happened to me where I'm in the car, I'm listening to music, or I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and I'm completely oblivious to all of the landmarks and turns and all of that. And and I get to my destination, and I'm like, man, how did that happen? So we're wired for habit and we're wired for comfort, right?
Hmm.
We want the path of least resistance. We
Yeah,
want the
for sure.
easy way. We want to hit the easy button. We want a pill that makes it work, right? That's how we're wired. So what happens is the topic today is why or change, why it's so important and why is it so hard? It's hard because in order to change, you have to break a habit or break a pattern that has, almost become autonomous, right?
Hmm.
So once the pattern becomes autonomous and you don't have to think about it anymore, then it's like, okay, now I've got to break this, right?
Hmm.
So this is what my thought is, and I'm going to throw this out here and kick it back to you. I think that what we need to do, the way to beat this is to make what is uncomfortable autonomous.
Hmm.
And I don't know if this was you and I having this conversation or someone else, but we were talking about David Goggins and embracing the suck,
Right. Yeah.
right?
I think that was us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you embrace the suck and you say, okay, I know I need to get out and run, or I know I need to get out and walk, but I really don't feel like it. And it's at the time that you really, really opposed to it, that you really, really don't want to do it, right? That's the time to embrace it and make it happen.
Yeah.
So the thing is that instead of why or settling in on our default wiring,
Hmm.
which is comfort, path of least resistance, the easy button, take a pill, whatever it is, the easy way out. Instead of that, let's just say, okay, some things that we know we have to do, take the hard way, take the long way, take the difficult path. And that is going to, and here's what I love about this, Aaron, is that I think that there is some mindfulness that's required to do that. You
Hmm.
have to really be in the moment
Better believe it.
to say, okay, I know I don't want to do push-ups, but I need to do them. I don't want to do crunches, but I need to do them. I don't want to walk, but I need to do them. And so now I'm saying, whether in spite of how I feel, in spite of what my mental state is or my emotional state is, I'm going to get at this and make it happen. So the point is, why is this so hard to change? Because in order to have effective change, you and we need to re-engineer our thinking,
Yeah.
and in doing so, re-engineer ourselves.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that as well. So memories get stored because they're emotional.
Hmm.
You don't store memories that don't have some emotional significance. Period. If I were to ask you, what did you have to eat um, on April 2nd, 2019? Unless that's a significant date for you,
Right.
and
Right.
you know what you were, but why would that be a significant date? Because of the emotions that are attached to it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I've been thinking about it this way. Our memory is 100% emotional. And some of those memories carry more emotional weight than others. That's the first thing. The second thing that's really interesting is the more they research memory, the more they realize that we alter memory.
Mm.
Or I heard a study that was done. People will have an experience. They'll put these people through an experience, and then they'll retell the experience, and 50% of it is wrong the first time they tell it.
Mm.
And then each time you tell it, it gets a little bit more distorted. The tail grows taller on down the line, right? Or
Yep.
however that goes. So, but out of those stories that we tell, we develop a script, and from that script, we develop a character, right? We play a character in all of our stories.
Wow.
And all of that is connected to emotion. All of it is.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying change how we think, it's really changing our sense of self, because we get that sense of self from those memories, and those memories come from our emotions. So in reality, the story you tell yourself, the narrative you tell yourself, the script you tell yourself, the person that you think you are is 100% based on your emotions.
Yeah.
Because without your emotions, you wouldn't have a memory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Without
makes perfect
you wouldn't
sense.
know who you are. And so there's a lot of rewiring. So I think the problem is getting the mind and the body to work together, right? The mind speaks in the language of, hold on a second. Mind speaks in the language of thoughts, and the body speaks in the language of feelings and emotions, right?
Yep.
And getting those things to work together. Now, the thing is, they're already working together based on whatever template we've been following. Like I said, if you don't do anything, if you just, sit on the couch all day and do nothing, that's a template.
Yeah.
If you work out like David Goggins, that's a template.
Yep.
And all of that is past. And so we get up and kind of relive our past every day, because without it, we wouldn't have a sense of self. So I think that's part of it. I think that's part of the answer as to why it's so hard. We literally have to rewire to some degree our emotions and change our stories, which most of our stories are probably mostly bullshit anyway.
Wow. I mean,
Stop it.
I think about, like, you're saying, okay, you only remember based on emotion.
Mhm.
So therefore our personalities then are forged in our emotions, right?
Mhm.
Because our personalities are largely the end product of our memories, right?
Mhm.
You have a memory that it triggers something, triggers an emotional response, that triggers an action, a response, and then and it's a perpetual cycle. But well, I think about this too, like, and we were talking about, okay, why is it hard? Why is change so hard? And I had said, okay, we have to rewire ourselves, we have to re-engineer ourselves. But you talked about patterns,
Mhm.
and I think that this is really important, because I think that by and large, humanity, the human animal is governed by patterns.
Yeah.
Like for example, I saw this recently, that tigers have spots on the back of their ears that look like eyes. So it makes a predator think twice before attacking, because the predator doesn't really know that these are false eyes.
Interesting.
And so you basically, you how you're wired, how you're or how patterns are established in your life. These patterns are really difficult to break, because again, we don't. So let me share this with you. Patterns mostly are not established consciously. In other words, you talked about, like, being a couch potato, right? Sitting on the
Right.
couch, eating chips, watching TV.
Right.
Okay, that's not a conscious pattern. It's
Right.
just something you settle into, and it becomes comforting. It becomes, you know, it makes you feel good, and it's easy, right?
Mhm. Right.
So you sit there and you get into this pattern. So this is what I think. I think that we need to, and someone will invariably accuse me of hair splitting here, but I think that what we need to do is replace patterns with paradigms.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is that basically, again, semantically, etymologically, they're very close. But I think paradigms are intentional,
Yeah.
whereas a pattern, a pattern can be default. It could be just there is no default paradigm. A paradigm must be established, it must be proven, and then it must be followed, right? But a pattern can just show up. There are patterns in nature. They just happen. Patterns of growth. One of the more famous one is the Fibonacci sequence,
Hmm.
right? Or the golden ratio. It's a pattern that occurs over and over again, and nature doesn't have to strive to produce this pattern. It just does.
Right.
But when we create something like a suspension bridge defies nature in a lot of ways, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now what we're doing is we're replacing a pattern with a paradigm. And now and so then after the first suspension bridge, people say, "Oh, well, this works out pretty good. So now I'm going to repeat this paradigm over and over again, and create suspension bridges." And you say, "Okay, now that I have this paradigm, how can I improve it?" Or skyscrapers, or dams, or nuclear power plants, or submarines, or whatever. It starts off with one paradigm, and then the paradigm is either torn apart and replaced, or or it just keeps improving. So I love anecdotes, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, but years ago, like when after during World War II and after World War II, all of the submarines in the Navy were diesel powered, and the technology around that had gotten pretty good. It's like the Germans had kind of mastered the whole submarine technology thing. And so after World War II, we studied their submarines, and we figured out how to make better diesel submarines. So in other words, the Germans had a paradigm. We were able to improve on the paradigm until this one guy, Hyman Rickover, comes along, and he decides that, okay, we have the nuclear bomb, but now we're going to have a creative use of this nuclear power, and we're going to create nuclear powered submarines. And everybody said that he was crazy. But what he did was revolutionary. And I think it was like 1956, 1957, that the USS Nautilus sailed for the first time. First
Mm-hmm.
nuclear powered submarine. And this was something that just totally, because again, diesel powered submarines have been the norm since World War One. Now, and then after World War II, after people were able to reverse engineer what the Germans had done, now they're like, okay, we're able to improve on the paradigm. But then Hyman Rickover comes and he destroys the old paradigm in favor of a new one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now that paradigm has been constantly improved over time. And you can apply this to anything, because especially when you look at anything that's engineered, anything that's manufactured, it isn't manufactured according to a pattern. Patterns occur in nature; they occur by default. But a paradigm is intentional. So what I'm getting at here, I've used a lot of words to get to this, is that we need to become intentional, and that intentionality begins with mindfulness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're mindful of what it is that we're doing, and we say, okay, I want to change this, and change is not going to come by default.
Mm-hmm.
Change has to be a conscious effort. You're going to, in order to change something, you are going to have to think about something, contemplate something, develop a plan of action around something, and then execute that. And it's not going to have, because think about this: if creating a paradigm was easy, all of us would look like fitness models.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right. And that's the thing, right? Like we can even have, and I agree completely, like the mindfulness piece, the being present piece, that goes to being aware of what's happening inside you in that moment that's preventing you from doing any one of those things, executing the plan, making a plan, whatever, right? So like you said, the moment I feel like I don't want to do push-ups, I'm aware of that. That requires mindfulness, what I'm feeling and thinking in that moment that's preventing me from wanting to do it, right?
yep,
And definitely, take the exit off the freeway, the easy way out, right?
yep,
Um, so, and absolutely, there has to be intention because otherwise you're just on autopilot. And I think a lot of us are just on autopilot in a lot of areas in our life. And so there definitely has to be that intention to say, I'm going to have a different experience by changing this thing or this area of my life. Um, but I also think our beliefs about ourselves
mm.
play a part in this.
Oh boy, that's good.
Um, our core beliefs, what we really believe about our potential, our ability, our worthiness, all that stuff. I mean, one of the most fascinating stories in the Bible to me is when the children of Israel are um, getting ready to go over. They send the spies. They send Joshua and Caleb
Mhm.
over to spy out the land, and they come back, and then they spread an evil report among the people, right? And they say, Joshua says, let's go over. We are well able to take the land.
Yep.
And the rest of the millions of people say, there's giants over there, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers.
Yep. In our own mind.
And what's so fascinating to me about the story is that they were both right.
Yep.
They were both right because the Israelites said God brought us out in the wilderness to die. And that's exactly what happened. God wouldn't let them go in and kill them in the wilderness. And Joshua said, let's cross over. We're well able to take the land.
Yep.
Caleb, and they were both right.
Yeah.
And
And
that's fascinating to me. And so I do think that we don't rise to challenges. I mean, let's be honest. Anything worth having or worth doing is going to be a bit of a challenge. And I think that we shy away from challenges sometimes because of our own self-doubts, our own limiting beliefs about what we can have or what we deserve to have,
yep.
or what we're worthy of and what we can accomplish. And so I think, and that's why that's so interesting to me, because it's like if you can find one belief, say, I'm not worthy. Because here's the other thing. Here's the other reality, Derrick. You can do all the things to get the thing, or you can luck into the thing, or a little bit of both, right? Like prosperity, abundance, more money,
Mhm.
success, fame, if that's your thing, whatever it is, you can almost luck into it, right? Like we've talked about, you get on the elevator and have a chance to pitch your TED Talk to the TED Talk people.
Yep.
And you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, right?
Yep.
But so you can do the thing to get the thing and still not feel worthy of the thing, or not feel like you really had what it took to get the thing. And then that's where you get this idea of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm here and I have this, but I don't really deserve this, and I didn't really work, whatever those beliefs are, right? So what's
Yep.
fascinating to me is if you don't change those beliefs, even if you get the thing, you're not going to feel worthy of the thing. But if you can identify one belief, I'm not worthy, just in general or whatever, if you can change that one belief about yourself so that you change your concept of yourself to a worthy person, to a deserving person, then every area of your life is going to reflect that. It's going to be reflected in your relationships and how you let people treat you. It's going to be reflected in how much pay you're willing to accept or not accept,
Mhm.
or a job or whatever. It's going to be a game changer all the way across the board.
It really is. And here's the question that I would ask you, or ask anyone, is how do how do I align, or better yet, how do I first influence my core beliefs so that I can see, the possibility of change? Because if you think you can, you might. If you think you can't, you're right. And so a lot of times we're conditioned, like you said, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, you know, and I'm guilty of that. I mean, sometimes I look at my life and I say, man, why, why me? Why me? But then I catch myself and I say, no, not why me. I absolutely deserve this. I absolutely should be here. I absolutely should have what I have. I am deserving.
Hmm.
And not, and here's the thing, you could say, well, I'm deserving because I work hard. I work at this. I'm sorry. I'm being picked with.
Oh,
uh, but you could come to the conclusion that you're not worthy, and what you wind up doing in doing that is you wind up sabotaging yourself. It becomes self-sabotaging, and then when good things do come into your life, and so what I was getting at, this was the thought I was getting at before I got so distracted, was that you are worthy not because you worked hard for it, or because you even did anything. I mean, listen, I think that work accelerates things, that work can help to bring about things, but you have to get into the frame of thinking that I am worthy of this simply because I am worthy. And when you do this, right here, this is the thing, that once you come to that conclusion, then the idea of change, you can look at things in your life, you can look at habits, you can look at paradigms, patterns, you can look at things and you can say, okay, I know that there are things that I'm worthy of that I'm not receiving, and the reason I'm not receiving is because I haven't created a receptacle. That's an interesting thing. If someone is pouring water to you, if you don't have a glass or some kind of receptacle, where does that water go? To the ground,
right.
where it serves nobody any purpose. But if you put a receptacle up, now you can say, okay, I'm ready to receive this. And so when we begin to rewire our mind, and and again, you talked about this, like, and I say this all the time. You got to start with why. So you have to go back to your core values, and you have to say, okay, the my why is this. This is the reason I get out of bed. This is the reason why I do what I do, and I would do this whether or not I got a dime for it. That kind of thing. And when you do that, and then you align your beliefs with your core values, then you begin to align your actions with that, and when your actions line up with that, that's when the action is where the rubber meets the road. That's where it goes from concept to reality. It goes from the prototype of your mind to the assembly line of your life, right? And that's what, man, if we can get that, and I'm saying this is me. My life didn't really change until I decided that what I was getting was beneath what I was worthy of.
Hmm.
In other words, my self-worth, my self-esteem had to be greater than what my present reality was. And what that did is that forced my reality to catch up
Yeah.
to where, to my aspirations, to my hopes, to my dreams, to what I felt that, or what I knew that I deserved. And that, so here's the thing for me. In order to get from here to there, I had to change my thinking. I had to stop thinking of myself as, Well, man, I'm just lucky. I don't know why, why me, and I had to put that out of my head because like sometimes I look at things in my life and that's the first thing, man, I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. Can't believe that happened to me. Now I say, something, that is right in line with what I'm supposed to get.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, that's good, but that's not the end game. There's better coming.
Hmm.
Now, that sounds very word of faithish, but I'm here to tell you, it works because the law of attraction, basically, if I can simplify it, it says that whatever you project, you can expect, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Whatever energy you're putting out is the energy that you can expect to receive in return. So if you're sending out low vibrational energy and you're sending out energy that is beneath what your expectations or what you believe that you should have, then you're if you're doing that, you're not going to get what it is you're looking for. So again, change is important because change determines or your ability to change and I want to throw out two really important words here, flexibility and agility,
Hmm.
right? Flexibility is the ability to expand and contract according to your circumstances. Get big. I used to coach basketball. I used to coach kids in basketball, and so I said on the dribble, get low, right? And then on defense or on a rebound, you get big. You're fully extended, right? Why is that? If you're dribbling, you're lower, your center of gravity is lower. You're able to move around better, and that speaks to the agility part. And the agility part says, okay, based on situations and circumstances, I can change my direction.
Hmm.
So again, if you develop this flexibility and this agility, then you're saying, okay, as situations in my life expand and contract, I expand and contract to fit that. Like what Bruce Lee said, be like water. The water in the teapot becomes the teapot. In the river, it becomes the river. In the glass, it becomes the glass. And he said, be like water. So if that's that flexibility, the agility says that, okay, situations, circumstances come. Okay, I know what I need to do to change direction. I know what I need to do to adapt to these circumstances, and then I'm able to move forward because I have the flexibility and the agility to change. So anyway, I need a drink.
I feel like I'm drinking from my fire hose there. You put out a lot.
Yeah, it's funny because like here's the thing. I understand all of this, um, but it was funny saying all of this in real time
Hmm.
because a lot of times these are uh, discrete process chains of thought, right? So what happened just then was a stream of consciousness that was
Yes.
that's pouring out all of this, and I put it out that way. At least my mind thinks that I put it out that way because uh, people. I'm hoping that people will listen to that and they'll go back and listen to it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Understand that, okay. These are the things. These are some of the components that I need to do in order to be prepared for change. Because watch this. The only thing that's consistent in the human experience is change. Change is gonna come, whether you want it to or not. The seasons change,
Very
day
true.
changes from day to night.
Yeah.
People change as they age. People change as they change geography, as they change jobs, as they attain more money or lose money. People change. Your work conditions, the economy, all of these things they change. And one of the problems with people not being able to change is that they essentially get caught with their shorts down, right? And so then they get this woe is me thing because they think, okay, I'm being screwed by the system, but you're not really being screwed by the system. You're being screwed by your own thinking because you failed to make the embracing of change a part of your life. And then that goes back to what we were saying about Goggins, embracing the suck. Change sucks. You know, people come and go in your life. That sucks. People die. People get sick. You know, companies go out of business, and all of that, and all of that sucks. I was looking at this 23andMe. 23andMe, you know, one of these
Yep.
genetic testing
Yep.
organizations. 23andMe is now worth nothing. Its value has gone to zero. And at one time, it was like a $50 billion company. $50 billion to nothing, right? So what happens if you're working for 23andMe? What happens if you're a vendor, a supplier to 23andMe, or another one, Smile Direct Club? You know, this is
Mm.
funny because like Anthony, my youngest son, had to have some orthodontics, right? And
Yeah.
he didn't want to have traditional braces, so we went to the Smile Direct Club. That was the first place we went because they were cheap. You know, well, we wound up going to a dentist that specialized in Invisalign, and so Anthony's really happy with that. It's working out really good for him. But Invisalign is almost 2.5 times the cost of Smile Direct Club. But watch this: Smile Direct Club just went out of business.
Mm.
They're gone.
Wow.
And so all of these people that were hip deep in the program, you know, it said that there's a 6 month supply of the molds or the guides for the teeth, and after that, it's gone. And so these people are kind of left hanging out here. What am I getting at is that if you don't develop this agility and flexibility, you, you won't be able to to change. And if you can't change, you'll get stuck. One last analogy, Aaron, before I shut up. My buddy Marshall taught me how to sail about 26 years ago, right? And he told me before we got out on the boat, he said, "I'm going to tell you up front, sailing's not for the lazy," right? And I learned that the hard way, man. It's like my hands were where I have calluses. They were bloody. You know, I had been hit in the head with a jib, and all kinds of crazy stuff had gone on. But what I learned from this is that if you don't, sailing is an active activity, and if you're not constantly tacking and changing the sail and making adjustments at the helm, the wind goes out of your sails and you're dead in the water. And sailing, and I hate to say this because sailing is such a rich people's metaphor.
Right.
but
Right.
but the point is that if you don't figure that out, you're dead in the water. If you don't figure out how to change, how to tack with the seas and change with the wind, and how to trim your sails and all of that, you're dead. And that's the point that I'm getting at. It's like we have to learn to adapt, and that's why changing yourself is so important.
Yeah. I think it's also why it can be hard because, like, yeah, change is going to happen. Change is inevitable. We fight change, even good change, we can fight
Yeah.
because change creates uncertainty and the unknown.
Yes.
And I think, the unknown can be scary because just from an evolutionary perspective, right? Thousands of years of evolution. Is that a tiger over there or is that a shadow that I'm seeing?
Yeah.
What I mean, I don't know. If I know I can be prepared for whatever's coming. But when things are really changing and I don't know what's coming next, that can be a very unsettling place to be. And so just that discomfort, again, back to those emotions, right? That discomfort, that anxiety of those feelings can cause a person to try to maintain their status quo
Mm.
because it maintains that level of certainty. And by maintaining that level of certainty, they stave off any anxiety or discomfort that they might
Yep.
feel, which
Yep.
then causes us to lose that agility, right? It
Yep.
causes us to lose that flexibility. We atrophied.
Yeah.
Sort of. And I've caught myself doing that. I really have been thinking the last couple of weeks, what do I need to do? What can I do that will really challenge me. Like, what new skill can I learn, or task can I take on? Something that's really going to force me to think, or force me to work at something, or force me to practice at something. Because it's been a number of years since I really challenged myself with something, with learning something, or doing something, or learning a new skill, that kind of thing. And so that's just something that's been on my mind, like as part of that embracing the suck, right? And
Yep.
part of that, because otherwise you atrophied, and you become stiff,
Yep.
and you become slow, right?
Yep.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. If you're not doing anything, that happens. But that happens in every area of our life. Intellectually, you can, I wonder how many of us think the same thoughts every day.
Mm.
Like, we're just sitting there thinking the same thoughts. I know I have friends that if I'm going to hang out with them, I already can tell you the conversation before I get there, because I know what they're going to talk about, because they always talk about the same thing, whether it's always bitching and moaning about the government, or the economy, or the border issues, or their job, their boss, their mate, their kids, and it doesn't even have to be negative. It could just be, I'm going to talk about my kid. They're going to talk about their kids because they always talk about their kids. They're going to talk about their job. Maybe they love their job, but they're going to talk about their job because they love their job, and and they're going to say the same things.
Yep.
Right. And so it's an interesting thought to think how repetitious is our own self-talk, or our own focus on various different topics or issues in our lives, right? And so how I would venture to say probably even the most enlightened person probably thinks 90% of the same things every day. And it's an interesting thing to think. I watched a episode of Huberman Labs, Dr. Andrew Huberman in Stanford.
Yeah.
Does I think every Monday or something. He puts out some really great stuff on change, and it's all research based and some really good stuff. But he was talking about how there is this growing body of research and knowledge about the importance of, how did he put it? I think he called it disembodied consciousness.
Yeah.
And what he meant by that was doing everything that you can to disconnect from your 5 physical senses, so that the only thing that you're really aware of is the flow of consciousness, the stream of consciousness that's going on inside of you all of the time. And he talked about how that most people aren't aware of what's in their subconscious. That's why we call it subconscious.
Yep.
But by tuning all that stuff out and tuning into that, we know more what we really think and feel about ourselves, or what we really think and feel about life, because that's the only thing that is capturing our consciousness, right? So he talked about things like sensory deprivation tanks, but he talked about, simple forms of meditation, or just, closing your eyes, and, wearing some earplugs and not moving, and just being in a comfortable position, and then just observing that stream of consciousness, letting that stream of consciousness come up. And he said that's where a lot of creativity comes from. And he talked about various different high achievers, how they all have a certain practice that they have practiced, where they initiate this kind of a process where they disembody. I think he called it disembodied thought, or disembodied consciousness. And that a lot of creativity and problem solving can come from that place as well. And so I found that really interesting. I thought that would be a habit, probably, even if you just did it for 20 minutes a day, that would be worthwhile forming.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of got me on something here. It's like, I want to check this out and, see what this disembodied consciousness is all about. Because let me say this, because I did one of my Sunday shows about this, and it was called Thinking About Thinking.
Yeah.
And most of us really don't give much thought to what we think about, right?
Right.
But if you think about what you think about, then what you do is you develop a sort of thought discipline, right?
Hmm.
And that thought discipline will allow you to, first of all, it'll allow you to not get galvanized in your thinking. It'll teach you to develop some agility and flexibility. And you said something very early in the show tonight. You were saying, getting out of bed and stretching.
Hmm.
As we get older, our bodies are not as supple as they once were. So getting out of bed and stretching is a good idea. But think about this. Like, let's say that before we embark on any mental or emotional exercise, that we do a little bit of stretching. You know, that like in thinking, I'm a big thinker. And what I mean by that is I think big. I'm like, man, I get
Yeah,
excited about things and I say,
I
man,
can
this,
testify to that.
yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, think big, think big. And so what happens is that if I'm in the habit of thinking big before I execute some active thought, what I've done is I've stretched my imagination
Hmm.
and I've stretched my psyche so that my psyche is now supple and flexible and ready to react to change, right?
Hmm.
So what you said was really powerful because it was so simple. You get out of bed, you stretch. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. That's how you keep from injuring yourself.
Right.
Well, how do you keep from injuring yourself when the winds of change blow in your direction? Well, you make yourself supple. So that means think big and think small. What I mean by that is like thinking
Yeah.
big, big picture, huge conceptual thinker. Small thinking, uh, thinking of a particular thing, thinking of it in a very pragmatic sense, thinking of it being focused on a thing, right? And so what you're doing now, you're expanding your consciousness, from big to small and from
Hmm.
small to big. And what you're doing is you're imitating a form of breathing in doing
Right.
that, right?
Right.
So what you're doing is you're literally breathing life into your thoughts. So here's what happens. What happens when you breathe life into your thoughts? Well, we know that everything begins with a thought,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
There is nothing that happens that doesn't begin with a thought. What happens after the thought? You begin to speak what you think.
Right.
If you see you want to see the fruition of it, you have to speak it. Then after that, you have to act on it. And then
Right.
after that, you have to develop some integrity around it to make sure that what you say is bona fide. And then that begin you begin to set your destiny because people can set their clock basically by how reliable you are or
Yeah.
how flexible you are.
Yep.
Man,
Absolutely. I was trying to see if I could if I could find that video, but I'm not finding it, so I'll have to. If I find it, I'll send it to you. The one where he's talking about it. It's just a clip from interview that he did. It's about 13 minutes long or something like that, but
yep.
pretty, pretty interesting. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I have any more thoughts along these lines. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Yep. This is what I'll say is that we said this in the show tonight that the only thing that's consistent in human existence is change.
Yeah.
Life is going to change, people are going to change, places are going to change, things are going to change, you're going to change.
Hmm.
And so you have to be prepared for when change comes. And that means like not getting galvanized and you're thinking and this is one of the things that like religion and ideology do is they cause you to cast your thoughts in relief. In other words, your thoughts become like stone and they become unchanging. And when you reach that point, it's like you lose the ability, man. Okay, let me say this about you and I.
Mhm.
and about this show. We talk about growing in real time. Once your thoughts have become galvanized, real time growth is impossible.
It's true.
I mean, because and even long term growth is difficult once you galvanize your thought. But changing in real time, that's the thing. The beauty about what we do here, Aaron, is that when we say we grow in real time, we learn in real time. That's because we have set our minds, we've stretched our minds in such a way that we're flexible, that we're agile, and that we're able to transition and talk about different things in different ways. We attack things from different angles. It's very multi-dimensional thinking
Mhm.
show that we do.
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
so the thing is that if you want to really experience change, and this will be my closing point. People say they want to change their environment, they want to change their country, they want to change the economy, they want to change the ecology. Everybody wants to change something, and when people think about change, they get to be big thinkers, but they never develop a paradigm for thinking in a very concentrated and focused way. So the point is that you can't change anything external to you if you're unwilling to change what's internal to you.
Right.
If you don't change yourself, change around you, you'll never see it. At
Mhm.
least not by you. You won't impact or influence it. It may happen, change may happen, but it won't be because of you, because you've galvanized your thinking.
Such a good point. So, you gonna change the topics? You gonna watch the Super Bowl this weekend?
You know what? I'm kind of mixed about it
Yeah.
because I think that, given my druthers, I'd like to see the 49ers win.
Yeah.
Um, just because you see Brock Purdy, and he's a tough kid. He's got good football smarts. Um, but then Patrick Mahomes is a machine, man. I mean, he's this generation's Tom Brady. And he's going to win. I don't know. He's going to win a bunch of Super Bowls in his lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him, but I just, and then I'm still a little butthurt about the Lions, man.
Dude.
To keep it real, man. It's like, I think Dan Campbell is a phenomenal coach, and I think that he's an excellent candidate for Coach of the Year. But man, goddamn it, kick the ball. He did that in Dallas. It was like, oh, and we know that everybody knows now that the Lions got kind of robbed with that call. But
Yep.
but if Dan Campbell had just kicked the extra point, the game would be tied. Detroit has momentum, and they would. There's a good chance they would have got the ball, and they could have won it outright. The same thing, with playing against the 49ers. It's like they had the 49ers over a barrel, man. And then one call, and the whole momentum of the game shifted.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. He's trying to go for the dagger, but it's like, okay, Detroit, you're the Detroit fucking Lions, right? Don't go for the dagger on this time.
Yeah.
Just let's
You,
just try to stay alive.
yeah. Yeah. You can do that in the regular season, but you're playing the best of the best by the time you
Yeah.
get the margins of victory are so slim.
And
I,
let's say the Lions did go to the Super Bowl and they did win. Okay, so then next season, okay, yeah, if you wanna go for it on 4th and 4, by all means, do
yeah.
it. You've already proven yourself. But here's the thing: you're in there, playing the 49ers, a team with massive playoff experience, and I mean that was just an amateur move, man.
It was. And the worst part about it, I heard the next day on one of those sports talk shows, the analytics on that. I think it was because he went for it twice when he should have kicked.
Yep.
But I think the analytics on the first one, it might have been the last one. No, it was the first one. The analytics of whether you kick the field goal there or you go for it on fourth down, the percent of winning differential was only like 0.5%
Yeah.
higher if you went for it than if you kicked the field goal there.
Right.
Only 0.5%.
Yeah. So the analytics didn't favor it.
No, it didn't. And then at the end, it's like, you're not going to get the ball back. I mean, there's like less than 4 minutes, and you have a chance to make it a 1-score game. So you still got time to stop them.
Yep.
And get the ball back and score your touchdown, right, and tie it up.
Yep.
If you don't get it, it's still a 2-score game. There's no way. You lost right there.
Right.
I mean, you lost on that play.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's the one that just blew.
Yeah, I know. We were texting back and forth on that one. You were like what
the actual F was that?
Yeah.
I thought that was the dumbest coaching decision I have ever seen in my entire life.
Now watch this. What was the final score? 31-34.
Yep.
One field goal.
Yep. I know. And if he'd have taken both of them.
Yeah. If he'd taken both of them, Lions win.
Yeah, I don't blame you for being salty.
Yeah. So am I going to watch it? Probably. But I think that, I'll probably spend more time watching this than watching the game.
Yeah. Who do you think's going to win?
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this, right? And this was really interesting. Opening game of the NFL season. Opening game. Opening day. Who plays the Lions and the Chiefs in Kansas City? Detroit wins in Kansas City. And everybody that knew football, they looked at that game and they said, okay, the Lions could be serious. And they played throughout the entire season, win, lose, or whatever. The Lions are serious.
Yeah.
And I think that had they beaten San Francisco, they had bragging rights in the regular season. And that could have translated into momentum. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, man, I'll admit, I'm really fucking butthurt over the Lions losing.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Not at all. I was. And for all intents and purposes, because I'm such a Bronco fan, San Francisco is always my second favorite team, if for no other reason, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
It's interesting on their staff there. You got Kyle Shanahan, who's, of course, Mike Shanahan's son.
Yep.
You got Clint Kubiak, who's Gary Kubiak's son, as quarterback.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You've got, of course, John Lynch is in the Bronco Ring of Fame. He's the general manager. You got Christian McCaffrey, who is Ed McCaffrey's son.
Wow.
And you've got no, I'm sorry. Clint Kubiak is the passing game coordinator. Brian Greasy is the quarterback's coach.
Yeah.
And then you've got Klein Kubiak, Gary's other kid, is in their scouting department. So Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, Brian Greasy, and Ed McCaffrey all won Super Bowl rings when the Broncos beat the Packers. Or no, I think it was when they beat because I think Greasy was a rookie quarterback the year they beat the Falcons. So that connection is strong.
Yeah.
The force is strong in that one. But I was even upset that Detroit didn't win that game.
Oh man, I was really beside myself. So anyway, am I going to watch the Super Bowl? Probably. I will probably watch it drunk. I'll keep it real and I'll talk a lot of shit during the game, and that's probably.
They were up 24-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
And it just looked like, and San Francisco wasn't able to do crap. And then when they went for it, on that fourth down play, and
momentum was gone.
It gave them new life. So you hate to see it because you think they had the better team.
Was going to win?
On the Detroit game, you think they had the better team. They had them on the ropes, and I'm sorry, Dan Campbell, but because of stupid coaching, decisions and ego, you cost the city of Detroit and every Detroit Lion fan. Now they wouldn't have been there without you,
Yeah.
Dan Campbell.
And the
But
Bobby Lane curse remains intact.
God, I think Kansas City will win. Mahomes just has he's on another level, and
Yeah.
when he's in championship games, he takes that to another level.
Yeah.
And I just don't see any way in the world, as much as I want San Francisco to win this game, I just don't see any way that they can pull it off.
Yeah, I think that that Mahomes as a quarterback and the weapons that he has, um, and then Andy Reid. Andy Reid is just he's in another dimension as far as coaching is concerned.
Yep.
You know,
Well, and you
he's
got Steve Spagnuolo too. Their defensive coordinator.
yeah, yeah,
Same thing. So, yeah, I think Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and I hate this. I hate this for the NFL, not just because I'm a Bronco fan and we have to play them twice a year, and they've dominated since Peyton Manning quit. I get tired. Like, I got tired of seeing Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl every year, every other year.
yeah.
I just think it's bad for the sport when you just
It
have
is.
one team because of one player and one coach that just dominates the rest of the field. But alas, we are here again.
Yep.
So,
But
I don't
I think that's really where the NFL is headed. That it's okay, and this is probably a topic for another show. But I think that the NFL is a microcosm of the American economy, right? That basically, the NFL settles into this, confederated oligarchy, right? And you have a couple of teams at the top, and they're going to continue to do what they do. They're going to be consistently at the top, and everybody else is going to struggle for crumbs.
scratching and clawing and devouring each other.
Yep.
Trading away 5 players and 3 draft picks for a quarterback that won 8 games with you. No, let's see, won 8 this year. So quarterback that literally won 13 games in 2 seasons.
Well, you know what?
Mortgage the future.
Speaking of that, it's like the Browns. They traded the farm for Deshaun Watson, and then they send they send Baker Mayfield packing, and Baker Mayfield is like one game away from going to the NFC Championship too.
Or they go ahead.
No, and then Cleveland, they got Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson gets hurt. Then their second man on the depth chart gets hurt. They pull up Joe fucking Flacco.
Yeah, they literally get the shovel out and dig up his grave.
Yeah,
pull him out of the coffin.
And Flacco comes in and damn near completes the impossible.
I know. He comes in and looks like a Hall of Famer. I was really, at the beginning of the playoffs, I wanted Cleveland and Detroit. I thought that would have been an awesome Super Bowl.
That would have been, to me, if there are football gods, the football gods would have smiled on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that'd be every man's team playing every man's team.
Yeah, and 2 teams that have never been in the modern Super Bowl.
Never been in the modern Super Bowl. Yep. It would have been perfect.
I think it would have been awesome. So I think if the NFL was writing the script, they probably would have done it that way. If it was really professional wrestling, I don't know, but
I forget who it was. I'm wondering if I don't think it was Arian Foster that said this, but there was some running back from the Texans that he came out on one of these Sports Center shows or podcasts or something. He said the NFL is scripted. He said it's scripted just like wrestling.
Yeah,
and he gave some it's still anecdotal evidence, but it was a pretty good anecdotal evidence.
I'm sure it's influenced.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that. I don't know about scripted.
Yeah, I don't know either, but let me put it this way: at this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Well, bro, I got to run because we're taking Maya out for her birthday dinner tonight, and
Happy birthday, man!
Yep. Yeah. Yesterday was her birthday. She had a good birthday, and so we're gonna make sure the party continues tonight.
All
So,
right. You guys have a great time.
all right, love you, bro.
Love
And
you too, man.
Gordon, well, since you open, I'll close. Thank you
Let you talk.
for attending our TED Talk and growing in real time with us. We love you, and y'all have a great weekend. Make sure you watch Aaron on Sunday. Watch. Hey, look at that! I made the confetti come, and then make sure you watch me on Sunday. And we love you guys.
Catch you later.